Hello, and thank you for tuning in, everyone. You are currently watching the Skill Building Sunday Drawing Group with me, Jason Leeser, on Sunday, July 10th at 1 p.m. And if this is working for you, please let us know in the comments and the chat. This way I'm not just kind of sitting here and no one can hear what I'm talking about. And welcome to Guy Aitchison's Reinventing the Tattoo Community, where tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and the curious are encouraged to join in these live streams, real-world events, to share and inspire and ultimately create better art and tattoos together. We beam out nearly every day, and with your help have evolved into a quality network of amazing live and on-demand tattoo and art shows that have all been receiving rave reviews. You can find us on both the app stores, the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, or you can also view us on YouTube or Facebook, or you can also catch some of the replays on the Roku channel, reinventingthetattoo.com/Roku. You can also listen to our podcast on the usual places such as Apple and Spotify. Artists, feel free to join us by clicking on the link in the events area. And if you're ever wondering where you can reach us as far as the podcast or the YouTube or the Facebook, please make sure that you check out reinventingthetattoo.com, where you can get the latest schedule, notifications, so you won't miss your favorite shows. And you can watch all of the replays, once again, all at reinventingthetattoo.com. We have a number of weekly staple shows that we always encourage people to tune into, starting on Sundays at 1 p.m. with me, Jason Leeser, and the Skill Building Sunday Drawing Group. And that's directly followed on Monday mornings at 9 a.m. with Drawing for Tattooers with James Wisdom, where we go through and we discuss basic drawing techniques and strategies to help you get back to your fundamentals. On Mondays at 11 a.m., we usually have the Tattoo Weekly Show hosted by Lauren Gregory, Jake Meeks, and Gabe Ripley. And Mondays at 9 p.m., we have a subscribers exclusive drawing group with Guy Aitchison himself, where we go through and we walk through the different chapters of the Reinventing the Tattoo canon to work on different skill sets to really help kick our artwork up a notch. After that, at Tuesdays at 10 a.m., we have another live drawing group with a very good friend of mine and extremely talented artist, Ricardo Sertivon. That's followed on Wednesdays at noon with the Tattoo Now show, where we discuss a little bit more of the business aspect behind tattooing. And Thursdays at 6 p.m., we have the Tattoo Collecting Podcast with Fawn Baker and Jordan Ruckus. We have a number of special upcoming real-world events that we always would like to meet and greet people at. Starting at the end of July, July 29th through 31st, we have the Rubber City Tattoo Invitational in Akron, Ohio, with Tony Urbanek. And that's followed August 26th through 28th in Hell City, Phoenix, Arizona for the Hell City Phoenix Tattoo Convention. On October 14th through 16th, I will be at the Resurrection Island Tattoo Convention in the wonderful Ohio Valley. So feel free to stop by and say hi if you will be in attendance. October 21st through 23rd, there's the Richmond Tattoo Arts and Music Festival in Richmond, Virginia. Once again, Reinventing the Tattoo will be at that, and I will definitely be making an effort to get out to that one as well. And as far as right now is concerned, we have the Puerto Rico Tattoo Convention December 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in San Juan, Puerto Rico, because who doesn't love going to a tropical island in December? It's also an incredible show. So be on the lookout. I'll be doing a lot of live broadcasting and interviewing from there as well. I'd like to go through at this point in time and thank some of the people and sponsors that make this program happen. Starting off with Raw Pigments, an ink company that's tapping into the source, rawpigments.co. These are absolutely wonderful. They are acrylic free, vegan friendly. They are a lot more like the old school powder-based pigments. And I've been incorporating a ton of them into my own personal lineup, and they are absolutely incredible. They saturate the skin with colors so quickly, it's a single pass and you're done. No more going back through and making sure everything's super solid. It's there. Trust me, it's there. I absolutely 100% love them and swear by them. My new favorite color is Cinderella, by the way. And it is like the perfect shade of light blue. So definitely take a look at that, rawpigments.co. And next we have worldtattooevents.com, the largest, most comprehensive resource for tattoo events worldwide. As we all know, everything's still kind of up in the air with a lot of conventions that are getting rescheduled. So if you're looking for the latest up-to-date information on what conventions and shows are going on, when and where, take a look at worldtattooevents.com. Next, we have Dermalize Pro, also known as Dermalize Pro in the rest of the world due to international copyright laws. Protect your art. If you're still using plastic wrap to wrap up your tattoos after they're done, maybe it's time to upgrade. Dermalize Pro is designed by wound care specialists. It is designed specifically to heal tattoos. Take a look. Go ahead, Google it. There's tons of reviews and information about it online. And you never know. Maybe you'll make the switch. I swear by it. Hopefully you get to try it out. And then after that, we've got Tattoo Now, technology for tattooers, the leading edge in SEO and professional development for tattooers of all levels. They're now accepting new clients. So if you're wondering the best way to go about attracting those clients that you want to tattoo, take a look at Tattoo Now. They've been in the business for a really long time, and they know exactly how to go about setting you up so that you can start tattooing the people that you really want to tattoo. And as we all know, that's like a career goal. So take a look, Tattoo Now, technology for tattooers. And of course, this would not be Reinventing the Tattoo without a very big personal and professional thank you to Guy Aitchison, who you can find at guyaitchison.com. He is the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo. At guyaitchison.com, you can pick up a copy of his Biomech Encyclopedia, any number of his DVDs. He's got some custom coil machines for sale, as well as original oil paintings and prints and a whole lot more. So go ahead and take a look at guyaitchison.com and yeah, tell him I said thank you again. As well, I'd like to go through and give a quick shout out to a couple of our affiliates, starting off with the Apprenticeship Diaries with Amy Nichols. If you're just starting your journey to becoming a tattooer, take a look at the Apprenticeship Diaries, where you can go through and Amy walks you through different aspects of becoming a tattoo apprentice, what to expect, what to look for in a good apprenticeship, what to avoid in an apprenticeship, what you need to know about what apprenticeships were like and what they should be like now. So go ahead and take a look at the Apprenticeship Diaries with Amy Nichols. As well, if you are already a tattoo artist and you are looking to step your game up, take a look at the Fireside Tattoo Network with Jake Meeks. I personally have gone through and watched just about every single video he has up on YouTube, and there is an absolute wealth of information there, from interviews with industry-leading artists to different technique tips and tricks that you probably won't really understand unless you're already a tattoo artist. They're not there to teach you how to tattoo, but they will probably give you a few tips on how to tattoo better. So take a look at Fireside Tattoo Network. And of course, last but not least, would like to go through and give a very special thank you and shout out to LaunchPad, a tattoo smart community. This is the leading vetted tattoo artist community that's currently out there. It is vetted. There is an approval process to become a part of it. And they are currently accepting new people to join. So if you're looking for a place to go to that has a great network of absolutely incredible artists that are all willing to help and share information about what they do, how they do it, take a look at LaunchPad, the Tattoo Smart community, and join up. I'm a member. I absolutely love it. I'm on there at least once a day, replying to people and answering questions and giving my 2 cents and helping people learn about different things. It's an absolutely incredible community. I really hope you take a look at it. And once again, it is vetted, so it is for professional tattoo artists only. So you can't really beat it. As always, if you like the content on this show, please go ahead and post a positive review on our channel. Please help us get the word out. Recommend us out to friends of yours or colleagues that really enjoy tattoos, that, maybe they're tattoo enthusiasts, but they're not tattoo artists. You never know. Some of this information can be really insightful to them. If you would like to host a Reinventing the Tattoo event, or become a sponsor in the Reinventing the Tattoo community, or maybe you're looking for a critique on a painting or a drawing or a tattoo you just got done, you can always email management@reinventingthetattoo.com, and we will be happy to get back to you as soon as we can. And as always, welcome, and please enjoy the show. We already have a couple of people here with us. We've got Pat McKay and Shannon Moxie, both of which are with us today. So we're going to ask them to unmute. Yay, welcome, guys.
Thank you.
And I'll throw this right into gallery mode. And I think we will have one or two other people jumping in a little bit later on as well. Let me just make sure the participants panel is open. Yay. Cool. Awesome. What's up, Casey? Casey just posted a comment in the YouTube. He says, good afternoon. Cool. So yeah, welcome. And let me go through. I'm going to switch this over. There's my Instagram. Yay. Cool. Let's get started for the day so I can start painting, because I like to paint. Yay, camera 2's working. Cheers. Yeah, I've got like 3 different cameras set up. This way everyone can see me from every side humanly possible. It gets a little confusing though when I switch back and forth, so yay. But actually that's not the camera I wanted. I wanted to go with this one. There we go, much better. All right, so I'm still working on this chrysanthemum because I did not have any time this week to work on it, and I'm kind of upset with myself about that. But it is what it is, and it will be what it is. Hopefully I can get at least all the blue banged out today. I'm gonna do a tiny little dot of green that I forgot to hit. But yeah, we were having some pretty interesting conversations before we got started today, just about, life, movement, progression, advancement, figuring out who you are, as far as, how do we really know, who we are until we've really experienced the world, how important traveling is. Because to me, it's like, you don't really realize how small the world is until you start traveling. So I always encourage people to travel. Go do shows, find a guest spot in Amsterdam to go and tattoo at. You never know what you'll learn while you're there. And if you don't think you have that network, maybe you could join the LaunchPad Tattoo Smart community and meet artists from around the globe and network with them. Maybe they know someone in East Jabip that you can go and do a guest spot with. You never really know until you start reaching out to different people to just see what's available and what's out there. So in my mind, it's like, why wouldn't you want to go and explore the world? But I mean, hey, if you're happy with your tiny little corner of the world and you don't really want to know anything more about it, that's cool too. Whatever makes you the happiest in life, do that. As long as it's not like, kicking puppies or anything like that, because then we would have an issue. So how's everyone doing today?
I can't complain.
Well, that's good. That's always a plus.
My cat is being a menace. and knocking shit over because I'm not paying attention to him.
Yeah,
He was crying outside the door, so I figured I'd let him in.
That's how they get you though, right?
It is how they get you.
They're like, oh,
God,
you don't want to pay attention to me? Fine.
And then they knock everything down.
Yeah. Thankfully, he's not a very athletic cat. He's a part Maine Coon, and he's like 20 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not really into jumping up stuff. Like we would put just like a normal tote in front of the door to like block the animals, and he'd like squeeze through the side the best he could instead of just jumping up the foot and a half it was.
I used to have one of those. His name was Booger, and he was such a needy cat. He was the biggest baby.
Yes. Which is great. I love it. He drools a lot.
He's happy then.
Yes, it is a great thing.
I have a dog that he plays hide and go seek with the cat, and he thinks he's a cat. He's a 70-pound pit bull. He's very far from a dainty little cat, but he does what he does.
I love pitties. I think they're the most gorgeous dogs on the face of the earth.
I am a little biased, so I'm going to definitely agree. I'm very lucky because with mine, he comes and we have enough space in the shop. Like there's a farm behind us. So he'll come and he'll greet all of the clients with me to work. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, he puts a lot of people, like he really does calm them down. And I've never been in such a dog friendly. I live in Austin, Texas. I moved down here from New York City a couple of years ago. I've never been in a dog friendly town like it is here.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's nice. It's got its positive and negatives, but for the most part, it's pretty cool.
Well, I mean, everywhere's got bullshit. Just what kind do you want to deal with, right?
That's fair.
I live in Destin, Florida, and it's not geared for locals in any way, shape, or form. If you want to do something with your dog, you got to drive probably at least half an hour out of the area.
It's so hard for me to fathom that. I haven't had a dog in 20 years. And then, I moved down here and I'm like, you know what? I want a dog. And this guy looked pretty cool. So now that I have one, I definitely understand what pet owners go through in terms of like how people look at their dogs and how they're treated. And
absolutely.
Bunch of crap.
Yeah, people fucking suck when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of the same way that people 20 years ago used to look at tattooed people, right?
Right. I mean, even I'll be
like,
honest with you, that's still prevalent in some places today. I went to Ecuador a few years ago and was kindly asked to leave a restaurant because of my tattoos. And when you're in a place where you're trying to be aware of cultural nuances, you're respectful and you're like, okay, and then you leave. But it's kind of wowed me a little bit.
Yeah, it's I mean, I know that that's kind of the case in certain parts of South and Central America.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, I had a client a couple of years ago that was up from Guatemala, and he had an American flag tattooed that he needed to get covered before he went back home, because apparently some of the local organized crime had an issue with that. And, it was one of those situations where tattoos were still very heavily associated
Mm-hmm.
with different types of organized crime down there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's hard to think about that. Like I kind of feel sometimes I live in a bubble until I actually go out and do all that traveling. I'm like, oh, okay, let me be aware of what's happening.
Yeah, it helps expand your mind, and it helps you realize that, hey, you know what? The way that I'm living my life and where I'm living my life is not the only thing out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to be willing to accept different perspectives.
Yeah.
I guess that's my 2 cents on it.
No, but there's something to that. So I I'm coming through the LaunchPad app, and I've been talking with Forrest. I do a lot of nonprofit work. So I'll
Okay.
go and I'll travel to different countries and we'll do outreach with different art projects. So I write all the grants and all that stuff for it, which is a lot of fun, a lot of work. But when even writing that, how you word things is everything, how you approach people, how you ask. Even if you don't know a language, you should be able to at least have some kind of niceties that you've learned.
Absolutely. And I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think a lot of it does come down to approach.
Mhm.
How are you going to approach people? How are you going to approach situations? Because the approach that you have with just about anything can have a very dramatic impact on the resulting conclusion of that situation.
Yeah, for sure. I try to do everything with a smile.
Yeah, I do too. I just try to be polite, be polite, use common sense, use courtesy, especially if I'm dealing with someone in a foreign culture that I don't know a whole lot about. I'm overly polite,
Yeah.
because, well, and this is kind of my own philosophy on it, but I recognize if I'm traveling, especially if I'm in a foreign country, not only am I a representative of myself and my own personal brand, the artwork that I do, the studio I work at, and even, where I'm coming from, but I'm also representing at that point in time, the country that I live in, the state that I live in inside that country, and what I do for a living as a whole.
Yeah.
So it's like, when you start to really look at things in that kind of a level, you want to put on you want to put your best foot forward without fail every single time. Granted, I also have a tendency to look way too deep into things, and I know that, and I'm fully willing to acknowledge that. But that's, to me, exactly what people are seeing. They're like, oh, this is an American tattoo artist from outside of Philadelphia. Right there, I'm automatically labeled as a tattoo artist, so I'm representing that. An American tattoo artist, so I'm representing the country, and from just outside Philadelphia in Pennsylvania, so that's the area I'm representing. It's like, okay, we're going to put that kind of weight on me. I can guarantee you, not every tattoo artist outside of Philadelphia is the way I am. That is for sure.
Right. You couldn't be the only, it's hard to think, or to even tell people, you're like, listen, I'm not a diplomat, but
Right.
I can share a little bit about myself. I had that happen to me the same time when I was in Germany, because we were working there with refugees, and the gentleman that I was working with, they said, hey, we've never seen anyone like you before, because not only was I American, but I was heavily tattooed. And I told the guy, I said, listen, man, I'm no diplomat, but I'll help you and answer any questions that I can. But I'm not gonna, I'm here for an art project, nothing else. And I still talk to those guys.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they were great. I mean, this is, God, this had been back in 2014. So there was a lot going on politically over there. And I was embarrassed because we were talking about where we were from. And the one woman that was part of this center that I was visiting, she asked me where I grew up. And I said, oh, well, I actually grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. She knew so much about where I had grown up. I said, well, where are you from? And at this point, I don't even remember the country she told me, but it was a very small country in Africa. I go, ma'am, I'm real sorry. Again, no diplomat, but I've never even heard of your country. And she just started to laugh at me, but it was really embarrassing for me to have to say that and have to admit that. But what was humbling about it is, like she didn't make me feel small, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to be up in Calgary a couple of weeks ago, up at the Deadly Tattoo Convention, and I didn't realize it, and I don't think anyone else there at the time realized it either. But there was actually an African king that was coming and stayed at the same exact hotel that the show was being held at. And, you know, he showed up full entourage. I think it was like 8 or 9 different cars filled with people, you know, security guards, the whole 9. He was there. And so the show was held at a casino on a reservation, and he was there to do business with the people of the reservation. And I remember talking to one of the employees, and, you know, he turned to me and he's like, yeah, it's not every day that you actually see a legitimate like king, especially one from the other side of the world. And that just kind of threw me for a loop.
Yeah.
Right. Because I've never met royalty. I'm like, yeah, sure. Yeah, no, that first time for me.
Well, there's
You know,
something about that too, right? It's a privilege.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and I was just, you know, minding my own business outside, enjoying the weather. And next thing I know, it's like 8 cars roll up with foreign dignitaries in it. And it's like, oh man, what happened?
I'm guaranteeing that was like
Jeremy,
one of the biggest things too.
oh yeah. Jeremy Burnt on the YouTube says, yo, what's up? What's up? What's going on? So what are you guys working on today?
I have this really big shark canvas that I'm starting because I finished the thing that I had in last week's session. And this thing is 36 by 18.
It's a big boy.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm just getting some really basic outlining done.
Yeah, I love working large scale like that. In fact, that actually reminds me, I've got a canvas I need to get back on and get a little bit more progress done with. It's been sitting around for over 6 months and I haven't really touched it. It's mine's a bit bigger than yours though, just by a little bit. Mine's 36 by 72.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's taller
just
than
by
I
a
am.
little bit.
Yeah, it's taller than I am.
What do you do to transfer an image onto that?
Well, I use my Jedi mind tricks and just kind of like mentally project it on there. No, it's I actually found a really quick and easy way to go through and transfer huge images. I more or less treat it like a tattoo. And I like to go through and I will contact the local Kinko's or Staples or wherever. And I'll pay the, you know, whatever, $10 or so to get a line drawing printed out at actual size, which they are more than happy to do because they have blueprint printers. So they're single color, large format. You know, they're usually used to print out huge floor plans and stuff like that. But I'll go through and I'll print it out at actual size. And I have blue transfer paper that I'll use and I'll go through and I'll take one sheet of blue transfer paper and just kind of move it around. I'll tape the whole image down on top of the canvas, lift up a section, throw some blue transfer paper underneath, go through, trace over the lines with a pencil, move the transfer paper over, trace over those lines, move the transfer paper over, trace over those lines. And I'll keep doing that until the whole image is transferred.
For the blue transfer paper, I'm sorry to interrupt. Is it the Saral paper?
It is.
Okay. I really like that.
Usually what I like to do after those blue lines are transferred, depending on the medium that I'm working in, I'll go through and I'll hit it with like an acrylic clear coat of some type, whether it's workable fixative or permanent fixative or matte clear or UV resistant clear or gloss clear. It doesn't really matter because I'm going to be painting over it anyway.
Right.
It's more or less just there to affix everything. So it's Yeah, that's usually the way that I do it. And I mean, this canvas is an absolute monstrosity. It's enormous. So it's
Sounds overwhelming.
a bit daunting and really overwhelming, especially because they want it done in acrylic, and I hate painting in acrylic. Like I do, I can't stand it. I don't know why. I never really liked it. If I'm gonna paint in a thick medium like that, I usually prefer oils, which I feel like I can blend a lot better. I can glaze a lot better, can really build those values up to be exactly the tones and hues that I want them to be. Whereas with acrylic, I find that because it dries so quickly, I'm kind of stuck with not getting the right color blends that I want.
Yeah.
And acrylic was invented to use as more of a graphic style of painting. I understand that. And I do think it's great that it's light fast, because when it dries, it's plastic. So that's awesome.
You ever use
but
extender with it?
I have occasionally, and I do like that. I think it kind of inhibits me a little bit more though, because I constantly want to add more and more to it just to keep it wet so I can go back into it.
Yeah.
And when you're doing that, it's like you're kind of defeating the entire purpose behind using acrylic.
And you never finish what you need to do anyway, right?
Exactly. To me, a painting is never finished.
That's
Even
one of the
I
first
just get to a point where I'm just done working on it. I can no longer, I want to get it out. I just want to go and drop it off. That way I no longer have to look at it. You know, that's how I know a painting is done for me.
I think for me, as long as it like hides under the bed for a year and then I find it again and I learn to like it again, then I feel I've accomplished something.
Just learn
It's
to
like,
let
oh
them
yeah, I
go and just
forgot I
move
did
on to the
this.
next one.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's actually a very good point that you brought up there, is just do it, get it to a point, and then move on.
Yeah.
A very good friend of mine named Dennis, who's an unbelievable artist, and works with a lot of acrylic paints and stuff like that. He's got a very graphic style of painting. I used to ask him questions all the time, like, yo, how did you learn how to paint with acrylics so well? And he's like, honestly, I just started cranking them out. Learn by doing, do it. If it doesn't turn out the way that you think it's going to, scrap it, move on to the next one.
Yeah.
He's like, learn by doing it. You will become far more proficient, a lot faster than any other method.
Absolutely agree with that.
I remember I did a guest spot in Virginia, and one of the guys that worked at the studio, I really admired him because he did a lot of like American traditional pieces. But right before the person got tattooed, he would do a real quick color painting for them. And he had done it so frequently and for so long that it didn't look like just a quick little study. It looked like a full-on painting, and he was just really, really fast with it. They were about postcard size, and I thought it was super impressive.
Yeah, and you get people like that are out there that when you do it so frequently, it's kind of hard to not be really good at it.
Yeah. Do you guys do any like daily exercises with your artwork, or anything to kind of help build that muscle memory or inspire you to do the next thing?
I like looking at photography to find inspiration, because I always like going from photos.
What kind of photos do you look at?
Any wildlife photographers.
Oh man, were you ever a fan of like the Audubon journals from the 80s?
I'm still getting acquainted with pretty much everything. I'm a newer tattooer and newer at even knowing that I can do a lot of the stuff that I'm painting now.
Mm-hmm. That's exciting though, right? Because you're just diving in and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna see what's out there.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm a big fan of that.
I mean, I don't know if I do daily exercises per se, but my hand is constantly moving. Even if it's, 45 minutes in between, tattoo appointments or whatever. Say my one appointment is running late. It's like, cool, I've got time to work on, a new flash design, or, flesh out a new painting that I want to do, or maybe I want to work on, something over here, or work on this. I think part of it's ADD, but definitely another part of it is, just constantly keeping my hand going with something, and it doesn't even matter if I like it or if nothing ever comes of it. My hand is constantly moving. I'm constantly thinking about, okay, if I was doing this as a tattoo, how would I execute this? What color choices would I use? What do I need to improve upon? Do I need to work on line work? Do I need to work on, color theory? Do I need to work on composition? Okay, cool. I need to work on composition. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a really awkward size canvas on my iPad and just start playing around with sketches. Or I'll map out like a 3 or a 4 inch wide by like 14 inch long on a piece of tracing paper. And I'll just start going through and just sketching layer upon layer over top of that. Just seeing what comes of it. So I don't really know if I would call that like an exercise.
I would, because it's still moving. It's still keeping it going. And it's still something new, right?
Absolutely. I think I'm getting to the point though, where I've been doing that too often. And now I've just got artwork accumulating in different piles. And like I have nowhere to really hang it up. So it's just kind of accumulating.
Yeah, my coworker told me that I have golden retriever energy because I'm so fascinated and interested by everything at all times. And I have a lot of artwork hanging around, but a lot of it's unfinished. Even if it's a color study, it's just not finished because I don't know what my problem is. It's something I've been working on with a timer to see if I can have more focus on getting stuff done and then moving to the next thing. Like I just finished a color study here and now I'm going to start drawing, and I'm probably going to start something else and I'm not going to finish them all today.
Well, and that's okay though, because you're even that little bit of time that you're working on something, you're learning something new. And I think to me, that's the important part of the whole process is what are you getting out of it? What are you learning? What are your goals with doing it? And as long as you go into something knowing what your goals are and working towards achieving those goals, even if you don't achieve them, as long as you're working towards that achievement, personally, I think you're heading in the right direction.
Well, that kind of, affirmation makes me feel better, because sometimes I'm like, man, I just can't get it together in life. And I get very frustrated. And sometimes when that happens, I just stop altogether, and that's even worse. But it's been pretty good lately.
Yeah, I'm a huge advocate of the theory of momentum. That, in life, when we get motivated to do something, we gather that initial momentum and we carry it on through and we start working really, really hard. And the key is to stick with that momentum, to keep that momentum going until it becomes habit. When the momentum becomes habit, then you don't even think about it as momentum and you don't even think about it as working towards something. It just becomes second nature, until it comes time to start something totally different. And then it's like, okay, I need to get the motivation to get up and do this. I need to really figure out how I'm going to do that. Okay, now it's time for me to go and do this. Okay, I need to be motivated for that. It's so to me, it's a constant struggle.
Yeah.
Just because I've already developed so many forcible habits, for lack of a better term, to just like constantly make art, whether it's, something like this, that's small, that I'll probably forget about in a year, or whether it's, something like a 3 foot by 6 foot canvas. It's all about, okay, I've got this momentum. I need to keep it going so that it doesn't go away. And I think part of my issue with that is that for a couple of years, I didn't produce any artwork. I didn't produce anything. I didn't really work on anything. I was just kind of coasting through. So I think part of me is trying to compensate for that.
But do you think that you needed that time? So I try to think that if I wasn't doing one thing, I was gaining skill and learning another. And I think that way because of how long I've been in the tattoo community versus how long I've actually tattooed. They're two different stories altogether. And I'm like, am I trying to compensate for the time that I didn't do this when I was younger, or did I need that time to learn another skill to bring me to where I'm at today? So that's like a personal approach, but I always like to kind of point that out as maybe you needed that.
I mean, I may have. I don't really know that I was productive in any aspect of my life during that period of time. I'm not going to lie. This was a few years back. You know, I ended up getting sick, you know, with the flu one year and ended up sitting down, and I was bored at home. I was living with a couple of friends, and ended up, my housemate had an Xbox and he had Call of Duty. So I was like, yeah, you care if I play a little bit? He's like, yeah, just don't save anything. I'm like, all right, cool. So I sat down, started playing Xbox and started playing Call of Duty Live. And I think a week later, after I was feeling better, went out, bought my own Xbox, bought Call of Duty, bought like the live subscription for it. And that's all I did.
Oh, wow.
I would come home and I would be up until 3 o'clock in the morning just playing. And then I would go to sleep, wake up, go to work and be like, wait, what am I tattooing today?
That okay. I understand that perspective then for sure.
So like, I was not very productive with anything. So I'm trying to, and of course, don't get me wrong. After that period of time, after that live subscription ran out, I trashed the Xbox, threw it out, no longer had a need for it. Because I realized I had just wasted a year that I could have been productive.
Yeah.
And there are people out there that can balance. More power to you. I'm not one of those people. I am full stop, like, let's go, gung ho. If I'm going to do something, I'm going to go all in with it. You know, and I mean, for a long time, for many years, I was working 2 full-time jobs. So yeah, that had an impact on things, and I may be compensating for that. But at the end of the day, that second full-time job was there more or less just so that I could support myself while I was getting my feet on the ground and building a clientele base for tattoos. So it was a long time coming, but I got to that point where I no longer needed the second full-time job. So got rid of that. And by full-time, I mean 40 hours a week, you know, on top of tattooing at a studio, 40 hours a week. So
I know that struggle for sure. I hauled garbage while I was tattooing for full time. I don't
wrong with that.
What was that?
I said there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
I don't know. I mean, it's an experience. The only reason why I quit is because I got hurt. But yeah, sometimes you really have to work to make it happen. So I always applaud that.
And it's not easy for a lot of younger tattooers coming up. I mean, you're competing with people that already have a very stable presence. And especially in this day and age where everyone wants to be a tattoo artist and everyone has access to equipment, information, technology, tips and tricks, you know, on how to execute a tattoo. It's tough. I would not want to be in the shoes of a tattooer that is, you know, early in their career at this point in time. I mean, Pat, more power to you, man. Stick with it. You
I'm
know,
going to. I
keep
feel like all you
going.
can really do is do the little things to set yourself apart from everybody else. It's
That's a
like
really good
Absolutely.
attitude.
one of the things that they said at the Explorer conference, which I think is really just common sense, but I guess it doesn't click for everybody, is like, how do you get known for doing good tattoos? You do good tattoos.
Yeah.
But I mean, going and just like furthering my education, because I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of art in the first place, but I always like learning. I like furthering myself. And I mean, the more that I can do that stuff for myself, I feel like all the other good stuff will come at some point.
It will, without question. Sometimes it takes a little while to get to that point where you're like, all right, when is this going to happen? You know, just stick with it, man. It's like anything else in life. It's an endurance race. It's, can you make it? Can you stick it out long enough to see the positive results?
Yeah, I have one of my other art mediums where it's kind of that same type of thing. A lot of people don't make it a long time, but I've been able to get into higher double digits and not burn myself out. So I'm trying to apply a lot of those philosophies towards tattooing as well.
Yeah, it's one of the best pieces of advice I ever got. I was fortunate enough to go to college right out of high school, and best piece of advice I ever got when I went to school, when I went to college, was treat it as an endurance race. You're going to forget 80 some odd % of the stuff that you learn while you're in university or college. The trick is stick it out, see it through to the end. No matter what happens, finish the race. Get that piece of paper, because employers don't really care what your major was. All they're looking for is, can you make that kind of a commitment and see it through?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would 100% agree with that.
You know, and I think there are a lot of studio owners out there that would agree with the same philosophy. You know, it's okay. How long were you at your last studio? 2 years? Okay. Why did you leave? How long were you at the studio before that? Oh, a year? Okay. Why did you leave? How about the studio before that? 6 months? Okay. Why did you leave? You know, because it's like, if you're going to show up and you're only going to be there for 6 months to 2 years, why am I going to hire you? You know, it's not showing a commitment. It's not showing, I mean, you might be committed to the craft and the art of tattooing, which is great. But if you're not going to be committed to where you're working, then what's the sense in going to apply for a job at that studio?
Well, it's also having pride where you work at too, right? Like that's your team, that's your family. You're like, hey man, like I only left studios because I moved, or because I needed that growth.
Yeah, I mean, I've left for different reasons, not, you know, because I really wanted to, but because I knew that I wouldn't grow and I wouldn't advance unless I did.
Yeah.
You know, you can be in an environment where your growth is stagnating, and that is not a place you want to be.
Exactly.
You want to be somewhere that you're constantly learning, and that you're surrounded by people that are going to push you to do better. You know, yes, you should be able to push yourself. Yes, it should be a self-driven initiative. Absolutely. But when you're surrounded by people that are constantly willing to tell you, listen, that looks good, but I know you can do better. You know, that looks good, but like, why didn't you do this? This looked awesome on the last piece you did. You know, why didn't you apply that same amount of effort to this one? You know, and being surrounded by other people that are doing better than you so that you can learn from them. You know, so, I mean, there's obviously a big difference. If you're stuck in a toxic environment, get out, go somewhere that's positive.
Yeah.
And there's still, unfortunately, plenty of toxic tattoo studios that are out there. Sometimes it just takes people a little while to recognize that. And I get it. But it's like, all right, do what you got to do, but make a commitment somewhere along the line. Even if you got to stick it out for a couple of years, stick it out. I don't know. That's my 2 cents on it. But endurance, that's what it is. Stick it out, stick with it, keep it going. Good things will happen. Good things will come.
Well, back to what we were saying earlier too, you get what you put into it too.
Absolutely. What are you willing to reinvest? If you're one of those people that's not going to work towards a goal, if you're just happy with where you are and you don't want to learn anything more, that's cool. Have fun. But like, I want to constantly advance. I want to be that guy that can turn around and is like, okay, I've hit this level. What's next?
Well, that's what gives you staying power, in my opinion. Like for people who don't care, like they're always going to bounce around to things they don't care about.
Yeah, very true. Very, very true. Me, I'm all in. I burn the boats. This is my only option. I am here. I am doing the things, and I am going to succeed. And I am going to constantly push myself to do better and do more and achieve more. And I think a big motivation for me was the Explorer Conference as well, which I highly recommend for anyone that's never, heard of it or attended it or anything like that. The Explorer Conference will kick you in the butt. It will get you motivated because you'll go and listen to people like Bill Canales out of San Diego, who was at the Philadelphia Explorer Conference. That was an absolute, hearing him talk about how it's taken him 40 years to achieve the level that he's at. 40 years. And he's just now getting to his prime spot where he's finally feeling like he's achieved a certain level and he is at the top of his game. That's 40 years of commitment. I haven't even been alive for 40 years. Okay. So I can't fathom that, but his discipline, his self-discipline is on a whole different level. It's just really, really inspiring.
Yeah, going to the Explorer Conference was fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's the first place, believe it or not, I met Forrest, who just so happened to join us today.
Yeah, what's
Hey,
going
Forrest.
on? What's up? Yeah, I remember we kind of crossed paths at some conventions before we knew each other, but our first conversation was at which was the Philly, right? That was the first one?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, that was the first time we ever actually talked.
Yeah, it's always a fun time at Explorer. That was my second one. I did the Dallas one, which was a lot of fun too. I'm excited to go to the Fort Wayne convention. I'm not doing the Explorer there, but I want to see how they put on a show. I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's always great when you get that kind of that group of people together. People that are on that kind of a level and just see where things go, see what happens. It always interests me. That's why I was really interested to head up to the Deadly show. When you get such a large caliber of artists, and when you have so many of them all together in one place, it's like, what is this going to turn into? Right? Because something cool is going to happen and you know it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of that at the Deadly convention.
Yeah. It was amazing watching Matt Carusen finish up a back piece and then turning around and seeing a 3-day 2-artist collaboration with Steve Moore and James Tex was like,
yeah, that's crazy,
on a whole different level. And then
there
was
the giant octopus or something, right, on the back of
no, that was Phibbs and Jay Marceau.
Oh, okay, yeah. A lot of crazy shit going on there. Can't even keep track.
They did a 15-hour 2-day long full ankle to like just above the butt cheek tattoo on this girl of an octopus in
Nice.
these like super high contrast waves. It was absolutely incredible. And they knocked that whole thing out in 2 days, start to finish.
She was probably taken out of there in a wheelchair.
Honestly, she turned around. I asked her, I was like, how are you doing? And she's like, believe it or not, it's not too bad.
I just would be afraid of
was
walking
like-
afterwards. Like
Yeah.
I'm going to Hell City, Phoenix, and I'm getting my one leg worked on, which will definitely consist of like the foot, and then I'm getting my other ankle worked on like a couple days later. So I'm just afraid I'm gonna be like hobbling like the whole time, like making it back home.
Yeah, I was actually throwing around the idea because I'm heading down to the Puerto Rico show in December. And I know James and Anthony Tex will both be there.
Yeah.
So I'm actually debating on whether or not I want to sit down and have a father-son kind of dual tattoo going on with the tops of my hands, to have them both tattoo, you know, a hand at one time, or do some kind of collaborative thing where they jump back and forth between both.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
That would be amazing, but it would have to be done on Sunday because I have to work, you know, Friday and Saturday, and I want to have use of my hands,
Yeah.
you know, at some point in time. So it's like, is that really going to be a wise decision?
Yeah, it's gonna be tough, but that'd be an awesome opportunity.
It's going to be absolutely incredible if I decide to go for it. But
Did you get to like talk to them any at the Deadly show? Because their shop's the one who put it on, right?
yeah, yep. Deadly Tattoos up in Calgary, Canada, was the host of it. And I did get to talk to Anthony a bit. James was a bit busy, but listening to him go back and forth with Steve Moore about just like drawing tips and tricks and their method and technique of sketching was like, they're operating on a whole different plane of existence than like a lot of other artists I've met. I mean, it's
crazy,
fascinating.
Yeah, that's a great idea to have both of them on your hands. That'd be pretty fucking sweet.
Yeah, I mean, you know, much like yourself, I enjoy collecting tattoos from different artists. You know, it's one of those situations that when you're presented with an opportunity like that, and I mean, there's still time. I don't think either one of them have booked out appointments for it yet. So when there is time, it's like, do you jump on it?
Yeah.
Do you sacrifice that to collect a piece by those guys?
Yeah, usually I'm like pretty early to try to jump on booking at a convention because I mean, you never know. Like some people book it up like a week before, other ones do it like way ahead. So I'm just like nervous about missing the opportunity. But the Puerto Rico one, like I don't think it seems like not that many like clients are willing to travel to it as much. So that might be a little easier for you to book at the Puerto Rico show, that is.
True. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's only a 2-hour flight from Miami. So, and I know that the 1 year James was down there, he did actually have a guy from Miami fly down, spent the night, got tattooed the next day, and then flew out a few hours after that. Yeah, he got a full, I think it was like mid rib cage to mid thigh, full color tiger on his side. And James knocked it all out in 6 hours, start to finish.
Ooh.
I'm like, I don't want to know what kind of pain that guy was in, because that is quick.
Yeah.
Well, it's not fast, it's efficient. And I've had this discussion with a few friends of mine as well that are also big admirers of James' work. And they say that it's not that he's fast, it's that he's just so incredibly efficient at his process, at what he does, how he executes it. He knows exactly what colors are going where before he even puts the stencil on the skin.
Yeah.
He already knows exactly what he wants it to look like before he's even done sketching.
Mhm.
you know, and when you're operating at that level of efficiency, you don't really have to think too much about it. You just go through and it's okay. This part's this yellow, boom,
Yeah.
there. This part's teal, boom, there's teal. You know, it's, you already have it mapped out. You already have it planned out. It's just a matter of applying it at that point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know, that whole family operates on a whole different plane of existence. Well, and just about everyone that works at that studio as well. I was fortunate enough to get tattooed by Chris Dunn, who also works at Deadly with James and Anthony. And I mean, that was like, once again, it was one of those situations where he already knew how he wanted the tattoo to look before he even put the stencil on me.
Mhm.
And that blew my mind. I was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm still making decisions up until the last second. Like,
Yeah,
do I want to go with this blue or that blue?
Yeah, I wonder how much of that is like pre-planning versus just like experience. Like you don't really have to think about it anymore.
I think a lot of it has to do with, I mean, when it comes down to like color choices and color decisions, I think personally, a lot of it has to do with simplifying your color palette, right?
Mhm.
When you start to get rid of a lot of like, I have 18 different blues I can pick from, right? When you're no longer thinking about it because you only have 2 different types of blue. You've got a, say like an ultramarine and you've got a phthalo blue, and that's all that you have, right? When you limit your choices down, you no longer have to really think about it. It's 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And then white or black, or maybe green to make a teal, or maybe you want to add a little bit of red to make a purple, right? When you start to limit your possibilities, you start to narrow down those decisions, and you start to eliminate a lot of the frivolous decisions.
Mhm.
And you start, yes, you're limiting your possibilities, but if you know what you're doing with color, it's not hard to make a powder blue, right? The question is, do you want it to be like a light sky powder blue, or do you want it to have like a little bit more of that phthalo kind of, you know, greenish kind of hue to it? You know, and sometimes that comes with experience. You know, sometimes people just don't know until they know.
Well, there's also, if people use like Procreate, there's that in the color wheel, there's the triad palette thing. And what that does is it sets you up with 3 colors that complement one another. So when you're doing like a color study before you tattoo, that thing automatically, and if you're setting your palettes up according to your inks, then you're good to go.
It's very true. That is very, very true.
Unfortunately for me, I do a color study before every tattoo, and sometimes I spend too much time doing it, but it does ultimately help me out.
Yeah, I've been trying to do more of that lately, and just like break things down with you know, color studies, and, you know, for lack of a better term, you know, limiting my palettes. I took a seminar with Jesse Smith from Loose Screw Tattoo. And I mean, the way he goes about his color palettes and choosing the colors is mind-blowing, because the guy only uses 5 colors plus white and black for every tattoo.
Yeah.
5 colors plus
Well,
white
that's
and
why
black.
I threw away half my inks, because I'm trying to get to that point too.
Right?
It's hard.
You know, but with those 5 colors, he can literally create every color he needs.
Yeah.
You know, and I personally, I think a lot of that has to do with experience. You know, being around it, seeing it, and doing it for so long, you know what your color palettes are, you know what kind of You know, if you're going to do something green, it's going to be this green. You know, if you're going to do something that's blue, it's probably going to be this blue. You know, you find how you want your tattoos to look, and that is the way that you do color. You're not bouncing all around too many times. You've got a set, pretty much standard, you know, color palette that you use on just about tattoo, which I think is interesting for those people. But if you know how to mix right and you know your color theory, technically you can make anything work. You know, so I've really started to just like boil things down, limit things, and just simplify, you know.
That can be applied everywhere in life too, right?
Yeah, simplify. But here's the problem that you run into. Like when you're talking about fine art, you can simplify your color palettes. I would not recommend simplifying your mediums, because if you say, okay, I'm going to simplify my mediums that I use, right? I'm going to only work in oil paints from now on. That's it. Or I'm only going to work with copper plate etching, right? Dry point. If I'm only going to do that, what kind of information am I missing out on for other mediums?
Mm-hmm.
You know, could I go through and start using something like liquid acrylic? How would that go through and impact what I do in other areas? You know, so as much as I do recommend that, I would just kind of caution people to be wary about it as far as expanding your knowledge base.
Yeah.
But if you've already found what you like and you're comfortable with it, go for it. Completely ignore everything I just said and do you. That's the blue I was looking for.
Can I ask everyone what's summer like to them right now? Because in Texas, it's going to be 104 today.
Let's see.
Ew.
Yeah. I woke up a little late and I'm like, oh, I want to go back to bed.
Today's a cool day. We have a high of 86.
You know,
But it feels like 97.
I think today's going to be 88. I'm not even really sure. I know it's sunny outside and it looks like a gorgeous day. Let's see what the weather report says.
It's pretty mild here in Atlanta. It's like low 80s, but I think it's like supposedly hurricane season. So it's been raining a lot and just wet and kind of miserable.
Yeah, it's been
I
that same
wish
shit.
we had rain.
It's been
Yeah,
raining.
today
quite a
is
bit
sunny
now.
and 84 degrees. Yeah. So I don't know if anyone has heard yet or not, but apparently the Paris convention is back on.
That's great news. Is that the one hosted by Florian?
Tintin.
Okay.
Yeah. It's under a different name. It's not, you know, the name that it used to have, but apparently Tintin is a very big contributor to it. For tax purposes and all that stuff, they had to go through and dissolve the company that used to run the Paris Tattoo Convention, which stinks, but I mean, I kind of understand why they did that.
Yeah.
But yeah, a buddy of mine's heading over there to Paris for that one this year. Flying out from Malaysia. So
Wow.
that's going to be a nice long flight for him.
Well, the way the airports are right now, more power to them.
Yeah, and then he's supposed to be flying from Paris to Puerto Rico to work at the Puerto Rico show with me. So hope everything goes well for him.
Yeah, for real.
I don't know. The customs office in Puerto Rico can kind of be a pain sometimes. So I really do hope everything goes well for him. But
I remember the last year, a lot of people kind of lost their stuff. I don't remember if it was in the Europe end or whenever they arrived in Puerto Rico, but a lot of equipment was taken, I believe.
I'm going to level with you. Had gone back and forth to Puerto Rico for over a decade. There was not one plane ride to and from where I didn't have some kind of discrepancy. And I would just go sometimes for fun on the weekends. It wasn't it's a little more relaxed there.
Yeah, I love Puerto Rico.
It's definitely one of my favorite getaway places that's a little bit more affordable. If I can't go to Hawaii, I'll go to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I remember getting like $5 Ubers home from the bar every night. Like, I could not believe how like nice everything was. And their bars were like 5 or 6. It was practically sunrise at that point.
Oh my God.
Yes,
My
sir.
favorite thing in all of those bars, every single women's restroom had a hair straightener you could use for $2 if you had frizzy hair.
That's smart.
And I had a blow dryer in every single bar bathroom. I thought it was the funniest thing.
Yeah, I'm really excited to go back to that convention again. I've been trying to brush up on my Spanish so I can actually try to communicate a little bit with the locals. They don't really try too hard with English, so I'm gonna try to hold up my end.
Are you a Duolingo fan?
Yeah, that's what I've been using. I was like messing around testing some of the apps. That one seems to be the best. At least like the free version.
Well, the paid subscription, you can have up to 6 people on it.
Oh, really? Nice.
It's worth it. It's a lot more informative. I think it's like $120 a year.
Okay.
But I put my family members on it so we can practice. How good we are is a whole other conversation, but we try.
Yes, I feel like
got
yeah, go ahead.
Dave's with us today. What's up, Dave?
Yo.
Can you hear us, Dave? Hello.
I guess not.
Oh. Maybe you're listening in. I'm not sure, but welcome. Sorry, sorry for interrupting. Just wanted to say hi. Yeah, but Puerto Rico is also great. It's a great show, but it's not necessarily a show where you go to really bring home lots of money. To me, I've always viewed it as more of like an artist retreat than anything else.
Yeah, definitely. They're really good about that though. Like the pre-party and after party, like it definitely feels like a lot more personal, I guess, for everyone who like attends.
Well, I think part of the reason behind it is because they specifically design it to keep it small.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They are very, very, very picky with who works at it. And they only have a certain number of booths that they want to issue out to people. So they are very selective about, it's not like an open registration where anyone can join in. You have to go through like an approval process. They submit it to different artists. They approve you, and then you're good. And then you can go through and fill out the application and you get like the welcome letter and the whole nine. But until you go through that whole approval process, you can't just apply for a booth. They're not going to let just anyone work at that show.
So it's more like an invitational then.
It very much is, yes.
That's great.
You know, this way they can really keep the focus on quality over quantity. They can really go through and be very selective about the artists that they want to have there. And they can keep the size down so they can keep it a lot more personal. And I personally really like shows that do that, where they focus a lot more on, you know, just going through and focusing on that quality aspect. I had the option to work at the Lehigh Valley Skin Industry Expo this year, which is a great, very small, very personal show up in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And it was awesome. I mean, all the artists were hanging out in the lobby after the show on Friday and Saturday nights, just hanging out, having a couple of drinks, or, you know, if they didn't drink, they were just there having, you know, a couple of sodas or a cup of coffee and, you know, just hanging out, getting to meet everyone, talk to everyone, network, you know, pick people's brains. It was awesome because of how small and personal it was. You know, so it's something that I really look forward to now.
Yeah.
And Dave's back with us. Dave, is your audio working this time?
Yeah, I can hear you guys now.
Nice.
Hey, welcome back.
Hey, thanks.
Upgrades done. I'll tweak that stuff out a little bit later. Let's block in the middle. Yeah, Dave, where are you beaming in from today?
Las Vegas.
Ah, Vegas. Never been, believe it or not.
Yeah, it's hot right now.
I can only begin to imagine.
Yeah, what is it right now?
I mean, I don't know though. I don't know. You've got a little bit of competition with how hot it is. Shannon's down in
Yeah.
Texas. They're supposed to hit 104 today.
104?
Yeah, they said the heat index is 112, but by 4 o'clock this afternoon, it's supposed to get to 104 officially in Austin. So it feels like, I don't know, hell. But I'm inside, so.
Yeah, well, we're at 103 right now. We'll be at 110 pretty soon.
The last time I went to Vegas, I wore sandals on the old strip. I was there to like just to visit. Those damn things melted on the sidewalk. I was PO'd. I'm like, screw this.
Yeah, it gets unbearable. You got to hide indoors.
You guys do have the best saltwater pools though.
Yeah, I'm fortunate enough I have my own swimming pool. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Got Georgie B just joined us on the YouTube. What's up? What's up? Maybe a bit more. Nope.
I don't think so. It's my first time. Yeah, if you want to ask questions.
No,
Yeah, you do.
like them.
Ask questions.
Yeah. My girlfriend.
We can hear you.
you.
Nice try, but we can hear you.
I'm from the Philly area too.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
What part?
I'm not able to be on the camera right now. We just had a baby, so I'm pumping and drawing.
Fair enough. What area around Philly are you from?
So I went to elementary school and part of middle school in Doylestown. And
That's
then
right around the corner from me.
Yeah, well, I heard you say Lehigh Valley, and my mom and I were looking at an old scrapbook the other day, which is still on the table. So I was laughing and just showed Dave a page from my Lenape Valley cheerleading.
Oh, dear Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Doylestown, believe it or not, is 20 minutes north from where my house is.
Where are you at? Like
so-
Fishtown?
Willow Grove.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Wait, I think I have another page in my scrapbook from Willow. We moved around a lot.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Willow Grove.
Is that a suburb of Philly or what?
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about 20 minutes, 30 minutes outside of downtown Philly. Yeah, I used to live in the city for a little while, and yeah, it just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, yeah. So then, yeah, we lived across the water and across the river in Glassboro in South Jersey for a while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Know exactly where that is.
Yeah. It's pretty well known because of the college, and you drive through it to get down to the shore. So Dave's been back there. He's seen the Pine Barrens, like Paulie Walnuts, rest in peace.
Who the fuck is that?
It's Tony Cicero that just
Oh,
died.
okay. Sopranos.
So he went to the Pine Barrens and survived.
Yeah.
That's an accomplishment.
Yeah.
Not many people do.
Yeah.
Usually that's a one-way trip.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to date a girl from that area, and she's like, yeah, come on out. We'll head out. We'll go hiking in the Pine Barrens. I'm like, no,
No,
nope, not
thanks.
doing it.
Yeah,
Nope,
what?
sorry. I gotta go. I have a thing somewhere else at this point.
You go hang out with the Jersey Devil yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got a comment from Georgie B on YouTube. He's from Levittown, just outside of
Cool.
Philly. What's up, man? Hope you're enjoying the show.
I'm gonna head out because I gotta eat something before I go into the shop as well. It's been nice hanging out with you guys though.
Bye.
Yeah, likewise, man. You're always welcome. Feel free to join us again next week. Try to do this
Yeah.
every Sunday. There's
No
always
problem.
different discussions going on, about shows or the LaunchPad tattoo community. Not to like say that too many times for us. We've already plugged it enough today. But we're always trying to discuss something new and help people out with different things. So if there's ever anything you want us to cover, just let us know, man.
Cool. Sounds good. Thank you. Y'all have a good one.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah, you
Do
too.
the same. Take care.
Did it start third time?
Uh,
3 hours.
Jason, have you ever been
That's
to the
good.
Pagoda City Show? That's out in East PA, right?
That one's a blast.
Yeah. I went out there, about 8 years ago, 9 years ago. Got to watch Joe Capobianco tattoo. That was like life-changing. It's part of what I love about going to shows. You just get to meet these people that you've been looking up to, or people that I've been looking up to since, I was in my teens. I remember looking at Joe Cap's work, and when I was back in high school, just like, how does this guy do this? Like, and it blew my mind. I had no idea. I couldn't conceive of even what medium to use to get that kind of a look, and, obviously fast forward quite a few years, and now I'm here just, like, oh, okay, I see what he did there. That's pretty cool. Like his use of, teal underlight on this part, to balance this out, but it's getting to meet people like that and pick their brains and be like, hey, love what you do. Teach me. Let me watch you for a little bit.
Well, that and like with him in particular, I just like that he's not full of himself. Like he'll take a moment to help someone out. So a good example is it was our apprentice's birthday and her favorite artist is Joe Capobianco. So I bought one of his books and I sent the gallery a thing. I said, hey, can you sign this? I remember Joe because he was a customer of mine like years and years ago. Would he be willing to like sign, put a little something in there? Like she's a big fan. It's okay if he can't. He like sent like a nice personalized message, did a little drawing, like above and beyond. And I just thought that, wow, what a great way to stay inspiring for people in a different generation. I really respect that.
Absolutely. If you ever want to see different people kind of raw and uncensored that you may look up to, I might actually recommend tuning into the drunk critiques that go on every now and then. I was fortunate enough to host one of those, I want to say in December. I think it was December. And Joe Cap jumped in towards the end of the night. Some hilarity ensued. It was a very interesting time. Very, very wise individual. I've been on drunk critiques with him before. And it's just always fascinating to me, like just different people's perspectives.
Yeah.
Right. And how they might be able to look at something that, everyone else can see, but see something totally different or some other way to improve that maybe other people aren't trying to maybe bring up, someone that's completely and totally unfiltered and uncensored. It's always interesting, but that's the kind of feedback that I truly personally enjoy. I always enjoy that, like, go ahead, take my stuff, tear me to shreds. I need to know what I need to improve on, and I don't want you to be polite about it, because how am I going to improve if you're just throwing niceties at me the whole time?
Well,
obviously you don't have to like make me want to go and like quit everything. I saw that look, Dave. I saw that look. Dave's like, I don't think you actually want that.
Nah, I'm mentoring her right now.
That's what he said.
She says I'm too harsh all the time.
No, I do not.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. I submitted something to Drunk Critique back in, I think it was December. And I got ripped apart, like limb from limb. I just wanted to like sell all of my tattoo stuff and give up, but it made me work that much harder. It really brought to light a lot of the areas I really needed to focus on even more. And it was really, really beneficial. So it's rough sometimes, but you know what? How else are you supposed to improve?
I feel that sometimes people are their own worst critics too.
Oh, absolutely.
I think I tear myself apart more than anyone else does. Like they give a constructive critique, but I think when some people are very polite about it, and then I like people who aren't so polite. So I'm kind of the same way. I'm like, no, I like it. But I think back to what they've said and I'm like, man, I hear what they're saying, but you know what? I'm going to be even meaner to myself and I'm going to say, see where there's other improvements that need to be made.
Well, and that's part of what I love about submitting things to the Drunk Critiques is that it's an anonymous way to go about getting critiqued, right? We might mention a first name of whoever submits the tattoo, but then you have people on there like Jamie Mahood, unbelievable fine line black and gray artist from Texas. She'll be on there. Bob Tyrell's on there. Joe Cap jumps in. We've got a couple of different people from all over the country and even from, over in Europe that'll jump in. And they'll give a critique of whatever it is they see on the screen. They don't know who did the tattoo. They can't really go through and comment on, oh, well, if it was done by this person, then I can see the direction. No, it's completely anonymous. Well, not totally anonymous. I know who's submitting everything, but I'm not going to divulge that information. It's definitely a way to go through and get an unbiased opinion and an unbiased critique about the work that you're producing. And to me, it's one of the most valuable ways to get critiqued, because if you're submitting something to a friend of yours to critique it, you can't always guarantee that it's going to be an unbiased critique.
Or that you'll be friends when you're done.
Exactly. Right. Because if they sit down and tear you to shreds, you're like, well, you're not being very friendly. I don't know if I want to keep you in my circle anymore. And it's like, but that's not why you get critiqued. You get critiqued to improve. Like, that's the whole point behind it. And if you don't want to improve, if you're comfortable where you are, then don't submit anything to be critiqued. Go live your happy life being who you are and what you're doing. But if you want to get better, submit your stuff. Figure out what you need to improve upon. Even if it's not to drunk critique, maybe it's just throwing something up in a forum like the LaunchPad tattoo community, being like, hey, give me some critiques. What do I need to work on? What could I do to improve this? Especially if it's for a concept for a tattoo that you have coming up that you're questioning, throw it up. Get those critiques done and out of the way before you ever apply that tattoo. Maybe someone will point out a major flaw in your design elements. Like maybe you've got a perspective wrong on a hand, or maybe, you've got a face that doesn't have the right form to it. Maybe you've got a face that's too small for the area. These are all very interesting things that maybe you're looking at the design you just got drawn and you're like, yeah, I really like it. I know I've got to improve on some things, but like, I'm really liking the direction this is going in. Let's see what others think. Why not get that input? Unless you're just trying to live happily ever after in your own little happy, unbiased place of happiness, which is cool, but I want to improve. I want to get better. That's why I like doing this kind of stuff.
I love the idea. When is the drunk critiques?
Honestly, I don't know. I get told about them usually 3 or 4 hours in advance. I don't even really get a heads up on them. It's just kind of like, oh, this is going on. Oh, I guess I'm doing that today. Sometimes I don't really know. Sometimes they're planned out a few months in advance and I have a little bit of time to like pre-hydrate before I start getting wasted, which is always a positive, by the way. If you have that option, I recommend pre-hydration before you start drinking. Really helps eliminate a hangover, especially because these critiques go on. Sometimes they go on for 8+ hours. Yeah, no, they can get brutal. I was done after 6 because I was just slamming bourbon the whole time. It was a messy night. I didn't even want to stand up at one point because I was afraid I was going to fall over. And I don't usually drink ever. Like for me, it's a very rare thing, but I was like, yeah, I'll jump in. I'll do this. This will be fun.
Well, you got a whole
Understand.
app that you can't half-ass it if you're going to drink, right?
True. I mean, I didn't think I was going to take it to the level I did. And I kind of kicked myself in the ass for doing that the next day, but you live and you learn.
Fair.
It's but that's life experience for you. I save anytime I consume alcohol for very, very special occasions. I'm not going out every week. I'm not, doing anything to, stagnate myself or hinder myself from improving because I know the level I want to be at. And the thing I have to sacrifice is going out and getting wasted all the time.
I think
I'm okay
that's
with that.
something that comes with age too, right? You realize what, not only what you can and cannot handle, but what you just really don't want anymore.
True. I mean, I've always kind of been like that because I knew that in order for me to achieve the level I wanted to get to, I knew that I wasn't ever going to be able to do that and be productive at the same time. So I knew that from like early on in college that I had to give that up. So I was pretty much a homebody. I was like one of the most boring people you will ever meet after my second year at college. It was pretty bad. I was that guy that like never went anywhere or did anything. He just stayed home and was drawing, sketching, painting, researching tattoos, watching videos and stuff like that. Like that was who, or I'd spend time in the library, you know, looking up old Japanese woodblock print books, and studying those and being like, how did they do this? You know, because I wanted to know. So I've always been kind of an outcast like that, but I think you're right. For most people, it's an experience thing. It takes time to understand what you have to give up in order to have what you really want.
Yeah.
You know, some people aren't willing to sacrifice that, and that's fine. You don't have to. Just know that you can't ever achieve anything in life without sacrifice. Something's got to give somewhere. At least that's my 2 cents on it.
So are those on YouTube, the drunken critiques?
Yes, you can also watch the replays on drunkcritique.com.
Okay.
Fair warning, though, the holiday special is 8 hours long.
It's a whole work day.
Yeah. Yeah. The holiday special from a couple years ago was 8 hours long. There is some absolutely golden information in there, but there's also a few other replays from ones that were not the 8 hour long holiday special. Highly recommend people check them out. If you learn how to read between the lines to really look for the valuable information there are little tips and tricks and secrets that are mentioned that are like completely mind altering that will change the way that you look at a lot of different things. And when I was back in February, I was fortunate enough to hang out with Bob Tyrell, who's one of the staples of the Drunk Critique show. And I got to pick his brain about some of the things that he mentioned on Drunk Critique and to see some of the real life examples of what he was talking about that are tattooed on him. And I was blown away. I mean, he's got a tattoo of Stevie Ray Vaughan on his left shin that's 20 years old, fine line black and gray with teeth that are maybe a little over, I want to say, a 1/16 of an inch wide, each individual tooth. And they're still perfectly clear to this day.
Wow.
Right. And I mean, I never knew something that tiny would hold up that well. I was never taught that. So how was I supposed to know? You know, and apparently there's little tricks to doing things that, you know, can really make or break an entire tattoo. And I mean, granted, he didn't tattoo it on himself, but the tattoo was done by Tom Renshaw that's 20 years old, and it's immaculate. It's incredible, the level of detail that's still there to this day. So highly recommend it. You can find them all on drunkcritique.com. If you wanted to submit anything for a drunk critique, you can email your submissions to geta@drunkcritique.com. Fair warning though, the critiques are going to be insanely brutal. You will probably want to cry. We will not be nice. Well, they won't be nice. I usually just host it and run the back end stuff. I don't usually comment too much. But you know, when it's a very eye-opening situation. We'll leave it at that. Especially when Joe Cap jumps in, because it's an interesting time. We'll leave it there. Go watch them. And there is some absolutely hysterical stuff that goes on. So you've been forewarned. Enjoy, go forth, and amuse yourselves at your own risk.
Yeah, I'll check it out for sure.
I think it's such a great idea. And I love that even if you do want to cry, no one's actually going to see you cry because it's anonymous.
Very true. Very true.
That's the lighten part of the load a little bit.
I will say during the one that I hosted not too long ago, there were actually a few tattoos that were submitted that granted, this was pretty early, so we weren't quite tuned up just yet, but they were so well done that we actually invited that person on to Drunk Critique to come in and judge other tattoos that were being submitted. I think that's the only time something positive has ever really come from that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the only time something like that ever happened. But hey, give it a shot. You never know what you can learn.
I just want to see if they're as harsh as the critiques that I get from my boss. Probably worse, but you know.
Well, keep in mind, these are anonymous submissions and most of the people critiquing are completely wasted. So it's very unfiltered and it's very, very brutal.
It gets real fast, huh?
Yeah, there's usually after the first hour and a half, because we turn it into a big drinking game, right? So anytime someone says the word contrast, you take a drink. Anytime someone mentions that a tattoo needs more black, you take a drink. Anytime, what was, there were a couple of other key phrases. I forget what the other key phrases were off the top of my head right now, but there are other key phrases that anytime anyone mentions something like that, you take a drink. So it goes downhill pretty quickly. But, you know, it is all in good fun. And the whole point is to help people get critiqued by, you know, amazing artists from all over so that they can improve. At least that's what we tell people.
Do you find that people are mostly grateful for it? Or have you ever gotten like an email back that was a little irate or didn't agree with the critiques?
There was one person that was not very happy with the critique. And they did voice that. And it was an interesting experience. They didn't voice it to me, but they made their opinion known. And they did kind of try to defend themselves a little bit, and that's fine. Doesn't really change the critique, but you know, more power to them for giving it a shot. I, on the other hand, when I got tattooed or when I got critiqued, I actually sent every single person that was there that gave me feedback a special thank you message on Instagram the next day.
That's the good,
you know,
stuff.
And I wanted to quit tattooing after those critiques. I did. I'm not even going to lie. But I thank them for their honesty and for, you know, pointing out where I needed to work and what I needed to improve upon, and started to really knuckle down and work on it. And I think it's helped. don't really know. I didn't get a chance to submit to the last one, so I'm very interested to see the way the next one goes. And who knows? Who knows? Maybe we'll be hosting another one in the near future. We'll see. No guarantees. But just know that if there is another one in the near future, I will be more than happy to let everyone here know about it. Usually requires at least a few months worth of recuperation for everyone before we dive back into it.
Well, it's not only a critique, it's liver Olympics, huh?
Pretty much, yeah. And I mean, you're going up against seasoned professional drinkers. So it's not a very easy task to keep pace. My liver was screaming at me the next day. You said you'd never do that to us again. But yeah, it's very, very entertaining, but it's that kind of stuff that really helps take you to another level. You know, so I always encourage people, like, get critiqued by as many people as possible. Throw your stuff out there. You never know.
Well, there's
You
always
never know
that-
who's going to give you a piece of advice that you haven't heard before that completely changes everything that you do.
I always like the pleasant surprise of sometimes you'll do something and you're not really secure with it. So you'll ask someone else's opinion and they end up loving it. And I'm not talking about clients, I'm talking about people that work alongside you and you're like, oh, well, tell me why. We always ask why you didn't like something, but tell me why you do like something. It's just as important too.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. You know, I think understanding the why, though, is a tricky question for a lot of people.
Mhm.
You know, you might have a lot of people out there that'll say, oh man, that's really well done. But it's like, okay, but why?
Yeah.
Why do you like this? What makes this a good tattoo? So understanding the whole behind the scenes of that, I think, is just as critical as getting the critiques. Like, oh, I like this tattoo because it's got super clean line work that is thin where it needs to be thin. It's bold where it needs to be bold. The color palette really makes the primary emphasis stand out. It's got just the right amount of contrast where it needs to have contrast. It's got just the right amount of black in it to hold up over longevity. Like, be specific about things as far as why you like them.
Mhm.
I spent a lot of time when I was in college doing critiques and getting critiques from different people and having them break down individually what elements they liked, what they didn't like, and what they thought I did well and what they thought I needed to improve upon. So a lot of it does come down to understanding what elements make for a good tattoo, what, you know, people are looking at. And that's why I've been trying to get different convention judges on here to have them join us or interview them so that I can ask them, what do you look for? When you're judging a tattoo, what are you looking at? Because that's not something that I think has ever really been addressed. And if these people are out there judging, they should have a pretty decent knowledge as far as, you know, what makes for a good tattoo. At least I think. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes people, I guess, are pulled in at random. But I don't know. My 2 cents.
Does anyone here still work on tracing paper or with tracing paper?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
How many layers do you typically use?
3.
Yes.
I use a whole book if I have to.
Yep.
Depending on how big the piece is. I mean, we're all just by a roll. So it's technically just one big piece.
I used to work with a guy and I always loved this. He'd buy one big roll of tracing paper and he would unroll it, draw a bunch of like outline flash, and then roll it back up. And then on like a day where he had a big flash event, he would just unroll it and it would just hang from the ceiling to the floor. Outlines ready to go.
Genius.
That's a pretty awesome way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, and he, you know, he saved it. What I liked about it, the guy I worked with, and we've since kind of adopted it at our studio, but every Veterans Day, he would come to work and he would tattoo vets for free. And they would be, you know, sizable pieces. And it was always something really nice, but he would have just like all these really cool classic designs. And it was a fun way for people who were there waiting and, you know, excited about it to look at all of it. I always admired it.
Yeah, that's definitely awesome. And I think that works out great if you're doing like, you know, pre-drawn only kind of flash designs.
Mhm.
You know, when anytime, because I used to work at a studio that used to do, you know, flash days like that. But we would always have people that would come in without fail that would be like, yo, let me get something like this. And they'd hold up their phone, right? And they're like, can I get something? Can you draw something out like this for me real quick? It's like, that's totally defeating the entire purpose of today. Why don't we book an appointment? Yeah, we can do that. Book an appointment with me.
I like to tell people I'm going to make it even more special for them.
I'll make it even more special for them by picking something off the sheet for them.
You're like,
Yeah,
come
you know
into
that
my
dragon you wanted? Guess what? You're getting an eagle and an anchor. This is my version of a dragon. Take it or leave it. Damn it. Oh, I should have poured a brown. Oh, well. There we go. Cool. Well, what time is it now? Cool. So I'm probably going to be wrapping up in a few minutes here. There are any final comments or anything like that, or anyone wants to bring up any other questions or comments, or tell me to take a hike, or, you know, bugger off or whatever, now's your chance.
How do you get 2 cameras going?
Oh, I actually have more than 2. I've got 3 right now. So I've got camera 1.
Okay.
Right. Camera 2.
Yeah.
And camera 3.
Okay.
And that all goes through a video switcher.
Right.
That I have hooked up that has multiple HDMI inputs that I can switch back and forth. And it's got a little picture-in-picture button.
Okay.
So that'll automatically take a secondary input and throw it up in the corner, so that
Right.
that way I can do the whole picture-in-picture super easy. I also have my my Instagram handle overlaid in the upper right corner, and that's through a program called OBS. OBS is the software, and you can add like picture layers, slideshows, little video clips, all different types of stuff. You know, as far as like multiple layers on top of video. It's a great little free program that you can use to do that. There's different versions of it out there. OBS itself is actually free, so you can download that, start playing around with it. You can get all types of add-ins for it. It's open source. So you can always go back through and play around with it a little bit more. Maybe make it do exactly what you want it to do.
Right.
Yeah, I
you
get a lot of
like,
questions about that.
could you log in like twice, like on 2 devices to the Zoom?
Technically, yes. As long as you have two devices that are both connected to a network, technically, yeah, you could. You could log in via two laptops. You could log in to a laptop and an iPad and a cell phone. Pretty much anything, as long as you have the invitation, you can go through and log in on any number of different devices.
Right. Well, I'll show you guys what I was working on, if you can see
Yeah,
it.
please do. I'll spotlight you real quick.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, nice, man.
I love that fish.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh-oh.
It's some dude that claims he's the legend and he got new dentures. So I gotta highlight the teeth in his hairstyle.
Hell yeah, man.
It's for a t-shirt design. It's not even for a tattoo.
Super even scale work too.
But thanks.
Scales can get a little tricky sometimes.
Oh, for sure. But it's luckily it was straight, no bends.
Yeah. Shannon, I'll go through and I'll spotlight you. Why don't you show us what you've been working on?
I'm gonna try to get it so you could see it. I don't know. Hold on.
Ooh.
See if I can get a light on it. So I started with a painting and then I'm working on this tiger sleep. Can anyone see this?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
You can see it just fine.
I did that and then I just did a brief color study on this little guy because I want to make him the same thing, like just as big as the tiger. The
That's
tiger is a
awesome.
piece. Thank you. I'm trying to work on at least 5 18 by 36 paintings to be ready for next spring. I want to start putting them out to clients. Before I start taking on pieces like that, I want to have them painted. So
Fair enough.
but yeah, it's a new, I worked for an artist that did Japanese bodysuits specifically for a number of years. He did my suit. So I'm just trying to educate myself a lot more in that realm. So any feedback, information, anything like that is always appreciated.
Yeah, you've definitely got the very traditional Japanese-esque kind of style down, especially when it comes to those little bits of waveforms down at the bottom. I really like the way that those were done. I'm a huge fan of Japanese style work, neo-traditional Japanese work, just about anything dealing with, those kinds of themes. And you nailed it as far as like those waveforms and just the overall layout.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that because I'm kind of like, man, I really hope that I finish the outline today so I can transfer it over. I'm going to use the Sorrel method you mentioned. Can you do that on arches?
Yeah. I do that on arches all the time. Paint right over it. You just got to make sure that it's very, very light. So take like a kneaded eraser if it's too dark and just kind of like blot it a little bit to like remove some of it before you go and paint over top of it. Otherwise, sometimes that blue will go through and will be transferred over into the paint. So you kind of have to be careful about that a little bit.
No,
You don't have to clear coat it.
So there's lots of different approaches with this, but overall, does everyone line in black first or do you paint and line after? Like, what have you all found that to be more beneficial?
I do both. I line it first, but then if I feel the need to go over the lines again.
Okay.
Makes sense. I mean, I'm one of those people where I take the polar opposite approach. I'll go through and do all of my paint first, and then I'll go back through and I'll do all of my black lines last. That way, if I paint outside of an area that I already have laid out, I'm not really super worried about it because I can always adjust the black line to fit whatever shape I end up painting. But I'm kind of weird like that sometimes. I also do like a full black and gray value scale underneath whatever it is I'm painting. You know, for example, what I've been working on with this mom, you see if I can zoom in a bit more. So you can see I haven't done any of the black lines yet. It's just all paint. And this is on an Arches block. And I did a graphite transfer as opposed to the Syrah method. And that's all. And I'm not really too worried about things, but if you take a look like up in this area, I've got a little bit of paint that went outside the lines. Fortunately, I'm not too worried about that because I'm going to do a Payne's gray background, like washy background, and I'm going to leave this circle open. So the only real areas I was super concerned about were like just the tips of these petals. Other than that, once everything is done and painted, then I'll go back through as my last step and I'll do all my black lines. I always start thin and then move thicker and bolder. Just like in tattooing, you can always add more, but you can never take away. So I always try to work off of that method. You know, and I'll start out with like very, very thin hair lines and then build them up to the level that I want them to be at. So, I mean, that's the method I use, but everyone's a little bit different. I've worked and outlined everything and did all my hard black shading first. I used to work in that method a lot, and it works best for more traditional stuff, but I started taking this approach and I really kind of like it.
Now, let me ask you one more question. Sorry, I'm always filled with questions. Do you, when you paint the background for that, do you block out the areas you've already painted? I don't remember the name of it. I've used rubber cement in the past. I'm just trying to find better materials to block out.
Do I mask it?
Yeah.
So I do have masking fluid. I've used that before. I try not to use that over top of areas that I've already painted though, especially if I'm working on paper, only because if I've already painted it, then I don't want anything to mess with that. So for me, it's just all about just being very careful.
Okay.
Fun.
Yeah. So.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
I
it
wanted
involves
to-
getting in.
I
It
wanted
involves
to-
getting in there with tiny little brushes right into those little nooks and crannies and kind of washing it out afterwards. But that's also why I save all of my black lines for last. Because if I do move into an area where some of the background moves into some of these like lighter washed colored petals, that's okay because I'll just throw part of a black line over top of it to block that part out and cover that part up. So to me, it kind of acts like a safeguard.
Cool.
But yeah. Dave, we'll cut back to you real quick. Why don't you go ahead and give us a quick little sign off? Tell us where we can reach you. You know, how we can get in touch with you if we want to get tattooed by you. You know, if you have Instagram, what's your Instagram handle?
ODCFX. Is that backwards?
Yeah.
No.
Nope. We can read it just fine.
Oh, okay.
There's some other doodles.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, ODCFX on Instagram. That's pretty
Awesome.
much it.
Cool. Shannon, we'll move over to you. And why don't you give us a quick shout out and tell us how we can reach you?
Okay, so mine is very long, unfortunately, but it's Shannon Moxie Tattoos, and I work over at Rose and Crown Tattoos outside of Austin, Texas.
Awesome. Excellent.
How
Thank
do
you
you
very
spell
much for
Moxie?
joining.
Moxie is Moxie.
Awesome. And
Yeah, I went to Austin a few years back, or 2020 actually. I didn't go to the convention though.
I don't even remember if it was happening. I mean, I moved here in 2019, and then, you know, the world did what it did, but I'm still, even though I've been here for a while, I still don't know too much about Austin. I moved down here. I was in New York City for 17 years. So it's a whole different world for me here.
Yeah, there was a charity boxing event, and
Oh man, the boxing gloves.
yeah, tattoo gloves.
Uh-huh. I want to do that so bad.
2 of the guys I worked with did it. One of them beat up Seth Safari, and then clean lost. It was pretty funny.
Hey, they did it though. It's not.
No, I know.
it's
It was
not
great.
easy.
Have you seen the bats fly out from under the bridge yet?
No, and I'm PO'd about that because I've been wanting to go, and every time I go, it's too hot or none of them are there. Or something always happens. The only thing I've done is I've gone to Buc-ee's.
I didn't get to see it either, but I heard about it and bought a bunch of souvenirs.
Well, they
I saw
have a
the
bat
bridge, guys.
festival too.
I saw the bridge
So.
too, but it was not the right time. Yeah.
You know, I'd say the only thing I did is I ran 2 marathons this past year over that bridge, but there was no damn bats out. It didn't do anything for me.
Wow, that's awesome.
And yours is what? Phil LV Inc.
Philly Inc. PhillYink.
Oh, Philly Inc.
Come on, Dave.
Oh man.
Okay. So many people from the Philadelphia
I see it
area
clearer
asked me
now.
how I got that. And I was actually one of the first, like, I don't know, 200,000 people to sign up for Instagram back before it got bought by Facebook.
Yeah,
So I was like, yeah, I can choose whatever handle I want. Why not?
no, for sure.
It was luck of the draw, I guess. Just kind of hopped on it and
Yeah.
got to have my pick. So I've been sticking with it for quite a while now.
It's
Nice.
a good one.
Yeah, it's very
think mine's
simple and
too
easy
long.
to remember.
Yeah.
You know, it's not super long. There's no underscores or dashes or dots or anything like that. It's just all one word.
Right.
What studio have you always been in the Philly area, or have you worked in other parts of the country as well?
So I do travel a lot and I try to do a lot of shows in different places. But I've been working out of the Inkwell Tattoo in Southampton, PA for quite a while, for the last few years at least. I think it's a while because I've lost complete and total track of time. So, I mean, for me, it seems like I've been there for 10 years because I'm just that comfortable there. But I think I've only been there for 3 years, something like that.
That's always.
It
to
feels
me
like
a
I've been
sign
there
of good
forever. So, before there, I was working at a different studio for a number of years, but that was, it was an interesting time. It was a very hole in the wall place that didn't exactly have the best of reputations. So it was time to upgrade and get serious about things.
You know what though? I think we've all kind of had that experience, and I think being in those atmospheres really help you grow. Like I'm so grateful for the hole in the walls that I've been at.
What were you saying?
Yeah, it was, I learned a lot about, what to do, what not to do, especially, and how to behave, how to deal with a lot of different types of people. So it was definitely beneficial. And Forrest, we'll go ahead. We'll spotlight you. Why don't you give us a quick sign off?
Yeah, I'm Forrest. You can find me on Instagram at notforrestg. I work for Tattoo Smart. That's at Tattoo Smart. I know you said you'd mentioned LaunchPad. We don't have too much on there, but you can hit us with a DM if you want to find out more about our community. And I help run Bio Boys too, so I might as well shout out Bio Boys. This is actually my partner Darian. She's working with us too. So you want to shout out your page as well?
I'm Darian. You can find me at 6 of Pentacles. I tattoo in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, that's it for us over here.
That was 6 of Tentacles.
Yeah, like 6 of Pentacles, like the tarot card.
Pentacles, not tentacles.
Pentacles, yeah.
I was definitely spelling it wrong.
Yeah. I was like, 6 of
no,
Tentacles is a good play
down.
on it. Cool. Well, thank you very much for jumping in here, and I'll go through. And yeah, so thank you everyone for jumping in and joining us today. If you like today's show, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. If you're on YouTube, make sure to give us a follow on Facebook. And yeah, tell all your friends about us. And yeah, hopefully we see you guys again next Sunday. If not, totally get it. But we're always looking for more people to join us. So until then, take care, be safe, keep those hands moving, and cheers.
Right on. Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
you.